And every paycheck I had went into healing myself. And I did that for years. I created a little TV show on YouTube out of it and filmed people and what they were doing.
You were ahead of your time in that. People were talking, like, people weren't really, like, you know, there was like acupuncture, it was chiropractor, but you know, you kind of went in between and you really filmed it in the early 2000s when, you know.
My God, Jackie, you were with me as part of that. When we were like, I was interviewing iridologists and EMDR and all these things that now people are like, oh yeah.
Yeah, like, I was like, yeah, it's like so normal. Yeah, it's so normalized now, but no, at the time you were doing it, it was such a big deal.
Yeah. Like trauma therapy, what's that? You know, now everybody's
a trauma therapist.
Yeah.
So I had to heal myself, and that's the journey that led me here. I ended up getting a master's degree in consciousness studies, which is a science and religion degree where I studied quantum theory and string theory and cosmology and Buddhism and the Vedas, you know, stuff like that. And I got certificates in hypnosis and neurolinguistic programming and medical imagery and all kinds of stuff like that. So that's what I do now. That's become my life. I look back on that experience of being slammed in the semi-truck, and I'm so grateful for it because I get to do fun things like talk to you.
Yeah. But you help so many other people too, like now, because you have, like, you know, that path puts you on the encyclopedia of experience, you know, just like Jason and Tara do. And that you now have this, you really, like, you know, now for other people because you've mostly experienced it, which is really the best kind of healer, is the experiential healer.
Absolutely, I'm right there with you. You're preaching to the choir. I love it. Yeah, I teach from my own healing, and I look at myself as an example, not as an exception. That if I could heal, and I could heal things the doctors told me I would never be able to heal. I was told I'd never be able to walk again. You know, if I can heal these things, so can other people, and so can you.
Yeah, well, you put bike and semi-truck into the same conversation. It doesn't look like you're getting back. Yeah, it doesn't look like you're getting back from anything. And, you know, and I know what a vibrant life you lead, you know, right now. I mean, you really, you know, you have healed. You are the embodiment of massive healing on all those levels.
Absolutely. And I think that's the truth of all of us. Part of the way that I work in my own therapy practice is to look at people as the truth of them, not as what they're presenting, not as the addiction that they're presenting, not as the pain they're presenting, not as the tumor they're presenting. That underneath that, the absolute truth of who we are, who I am, and how I was able to heal, because if it wasn't my truth, I wouldn't have been able to heal, is that we are whole, perfect, and complete. And life dumps a bunch of crap on us. And our job as a therapist is to clear that away, to let the truth come out more. And that truth of that we are whole. So that's a big part of my practice. I can't work with a client if they convince me that they are their disease. I can't do it.
Right. Which
you have to get rid of it.
Talk about being stuck in the problem. Well, that's a hard place to start from. The willingness to heal it needs to be your.
Well, that's everyone, isn't it? Though, I mean, is getting out of that stuckness.
Absolutely,
because so many people are stuck.
Oh, huge. We tend to define ourselves by our pain.
Yeah.
You know, by the label that the doctors gave us. We tend to define our entire life by that experience. And then we buy into that. We really do. We buy into that philosophy, that belief system, what it's going to look like, what our lives are going to look like, having to deal with this thing that the doctors labeled and all that type of stuff. And I like to know, you know, I really love doctors. Most of my referrals in my practice come from doctors. From Western medical doctors, and I like to know the label they're putting on something, and I love their diagnostic skills, because then I take the test that they did on me, and my doctor, he always writes me a prescription and says, I know you're not going to take this, but I have to give it to you. so I take my labs and I take my thoughts, and then I go to my holistic.
Labs, yes, I get the labs. I appreciate the labs. You know,
absolutely,
tremendously. And then I think we all do it. We ferret out
Yeah.
the different healers that need to work on those different elementals.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the
Science is
things
a
I
great gift.
discovered,
And,
What
you
is
know,
that?
like your accident, it's a great gift to have those doctors, those, you know, practices in place. But, you know, if you're working
Absolutely.
with things, you know, and especially
Absolutely.
depression or anything that needs to be a progression in your life, I mean, here we come in.
Mhm.
Don't hold on to
Exactly.
it. Here we are.
Exactly.
This is the
And
team.
one of the big things is to be able to bless our pain. Like, I really look back at the person that drove me into that semi-truck, and I don't know if he showed up, and I don't know who he was. He drove away. But if he showed up now, I don't know if I would embrace him, but I absolutely bless him. I absolutely bless him. And there's a gratefulness for that experience. And although that experience took away my dance career and how I knew how to exist at that time, and that experience created pain in my life, I'm not a victim to that pain.
Right.
I was victimized, absolutely, but I am not a victim to that pain anymore. And I am so grateful for it. And I really do mean it, although it sounds silly. If it wasn't for that experience, I wouldn't have the amazing life that I have today.
Right.
And I would never go back. I would never go back and change that experience. I wouldn't have met Jackie. And Jackie, I love you. You've been part of my life for years, you know?
And that wasn't it such a good surprise she showed up today.
Yeah, oh my God, it was great.
They crashed the party, right?
Yeah, now I don't recommend you drive into semi-trucks in order to be
No.
Jackie.
No.
No.
But I like, because Tara and Jason have had me on a couple times, and we talk a lot about the victim consciousness, victimizer, and and that I feel like as you both can say as healers, the three of you, but can speak to like getting out of any victim consciousness is the only place you can reclaim your power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's huge. And I've been starting to call that type of being as below the line and above the line. So that victim thinking that I slip into, I mean,
we all go through moments. Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah.
I am no saint. Something happens and I get angry and resentful and I go down into that victim thinking.
I say we're on a victim consciousness planet, so the fact that we can't
it's awful.
Yeah.
And then I say, wait a minute, this isn't promoting anything. This isn't helping anything. This isn't benefiting you. It's not benefiting the person that you're angry at. It's not benefiting the world. Let's get back above the line. We are not victims. And this is, part of my practice is that we have to heal physically, mentally, and spiritually. And so we have to get back above the line so that we're not in that consciousness of life is happening to me, but we're in the consciousness that life is happening for me. The universe is conspiring for my greatest good, right? And I have some professional football players that have come to me before, right? And they have these busted up knees, and I can totally relate to that, right? And the doctors are working wonderfully on the body side of these things. And we throw around this like body, mind, spirit, but people don't really understand what it means and what to do with it. And so we throw around this idea that, well, body, mind, spirit stuff, but the doctors are working on the body side, but no one's working on this guy's mind. His head is in an absolute panic. He's going, how am I going to play the rest of the season? Am I going to be able to play the rest of the season? What's going to happen to my contract? What's going to happen to the team? What's going to happen to the $14 million house I just bought? Because if I don't get my contract, his head's in a panic and his heart's breaking. His heart is breaking. These guys have played ball their entire lives pretty much. 8, 9 years old, they're starting to play. It's how they identify. It's who they are. It's what they live and breathe. And no one is working on that heart level. And I believe that every wound, whether the wound initially was a broken knee or whether it was a broken heart or whether it was a panicked brain, a panicked mind, it has a physical and spiritual component too. So we have to heal. That's why I call my practice convergence. We have to heal together. We have to bring these levels of healing together. And we have to go and work with somebody who does energy work, or even I've sent clients to do past life readings, because sometimes this stuff gets triggered when a wound gets caused, where there's a causation there, right? And so you have to work on multiple levels to bring about a healing that is sustainable. Like an addiction, a client will often go from one addiction to a lesser addiction to a lesser addiction, or just to another addiction that's just as bad for them, right? If we don't deal with the wound holistically on all those levels, then the wound just gets transferred to another experience.
Right. Which is so it's really, and then that's the case. It's what you see is also then now the avoidance of pain. And, you know, going through your many injuries over a long period of time, it's almost like it's almost like, and I've had it myself, where you just have to embrace the pain. It's like,
Exactly.
Like you have to become friends with the pain, you have to become comfortable with the pain. You have to welcome the pain.
Using my phrases.
Well, you have to do the Aboriginal way, I always think. It's try to throw the pain either into the ground or out into the universe. It's like, come on, we can do it.
Yeah.
Because so much of what we do, Americans do, planet Earth does, it's like we want to avoid pain.
Yeah.
Like,
or cover it up.
Yeah, cover it up.
Yeah, no covering up.
And
get rid of it.
And whether it's spiritual pain, physical pain, emotional pain, you know, if you can go into the pain, you know, like that's where the freedom and the liberation is. And
absolutely. That's like on the nose. You have to go into
but you can't stay there.
No, you can't stay there, but you do have to go into it. It's like jumping into the ice cold water in a swimming pool. It's like,
but having the ladder right there and getting out in the towels. Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
You have to have your rescue.
And
you have to have support.
System. Yeah, support system.
Absolutely.
You have to set it up beforehand so that. Yeah.
Yeah, I always one of the quotes that really inspired me to go deeper into my practice is a quote from Rumi. And Rumi says, the cure for the pain is in the pain. So that means that if you want to heal, you can't avoid it. You can't medicate it. You have to go into it. And I love how you said that, Jackie. You have to sit with it. You have to be present with it. I like to say, befriend your pain. The pain shows up. It's with you. And you can make a choice to be mean to it and angry at it. Like, I don't want to do this to you guys, but I'll do it to the side. But when our pain shows up, it's something that's connected to us. It's like that invisible friend in the movies where nobody can see it, but you can. And
that's
you
why
can
I feel
hear
so
it.
lonely in it. That's why I always feel so lonely in it, because it's like so big, or it's so you can feel it, but nobody else knows what's going on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so when we sit down with it, and a neuroscientist taught me that the brain starts to go into high functioning when we can conceptualize something, right? So when we're in pain or overwhelm or frustration, he said the brain kind of gets blanketed over and it just sort of shuts down. And the concept or the situation is just so big that our brains can't hook into anything, right? They can't grab on anything to know what to do. It's like the idea of spirit, right? It's so massive, or you could say the universe. It's so massive to try and conceptualize it. We have to sort of give it a shape, right? And look at the solar system and the planets, and we go, oh yeah, okay, I can kind of get that. And then there's another billion of those. Oh yeah, that gets a little harder to comprehend, but yeah, I can get there's more of them, right? Well, pain is kind of the same way. It just shuts us down. Or depression, anxiety, it shuts us down.
And I would say most people have that. Like, I almost feel like most people carry some level of anxiety or depression around them, like on a regular, constant, consistent basis.
Absolutely.
But if not, if they're not carrying it, they are empathic, and the people who are around them are carrying. They're picking up on their stuff. So it's being really whole within yourself and trying to gain that wholeness so that, you can help other people. Peter, Jason.
Yeah.
Jack.
You just touched on two huge things for me. One is conceptualizing the pain, really giving the pain a shape and a form so it's something you can work with. Oh, Bob just showed up. Bob's a blob of black emptiness, and Bob just came into the room, and that's my depression. So Bob's here, great. I can work with Bob, right? I can work with Bob. I can't work with just this emptiness, but I can work with Bob. And then, Tara, you said something that's so huge right now. These empaths, right? I'm an early cursor, I think, to one of them, right? Us empaths have been coming into the world more and more and more. And you can go back to like the rainbow kids and all that type of stuff. These kids and these people who are now adults, the number of empaths coming into the world. And I once did a workshop with Judith Orloff out at the Edgar Cayce Institute. And she was talking about her stuff. One of my pet peeves with Judith's work, although I love her work and she's amazing, is to always have to protect yourself. And that just keeps us small.
It constantly keeps us in that victim consciousness. It subtly keeps us in victim consciousness because you're always protecting yourself. Then you're always a victim of something that is inevitably.
Invisibility. Yes. It's called invisible.
Yeah, like it's
yeah. You want to be invisible, you can be.
That's why I have a whole trouble with all that narcissism recovery programs, and because like you have to always have an enemy on the external. Which if you always have an enemy on the external, you're always holding victim consciousness. Like it just cannot always be that. It's good to know it. You have to integrate it, but you can't always hold it. You hold that, you're just right back.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just spiral.
I'm sorry, Jackie. What was that?
Like if you hold, like you have to have it. You have to know it. You have to have the awareness. You have to integrate it. But if you consistently hold it, like you say with Dr. Judith Orloff's, with you having to protect yourself, it very subtly spirals you right back into the very thing you're trying to liberate yourself from.
Absolutely. And empaths are impulsive healers. They are impulsive. It's who they are at the core of their being. They came here to heal the world. And if they're hiding in their homes and avoiding everything and avoiding people, they're not serving their purpose. And so I developed this template that I call the immature and the mature empath, and the qualities that go along with those. And we have to evolve into our mature state where we could sit in a den of pain. We can walk into that experience and be completely surrounded by people who are suffering, and we do not take it on. We feel it. We're present with it. We're compassionate about it. We have empathic understanding, but we're not sucking it up. And we're able to then, in that mature state, witness. We're able to sit there and witness people's pain. Be so present with them on a soul heart level that they heal just by our presence.
That is so beautiful, because I literally dropped the language. Terry, you're really big on language, but I stopped using the word "I'll hold space for you," because as an empath, I found that if I was holding space, I was actually like inviting to take it on. So, and I know it's very popular for me. We're very popular, but like witnessing kind of has in the yoga world, we're going to hold space for you. Well, Jackie was like, I'll hold space. And then that person was really good and done with it all. And I'm like still holding their
Okay.
Like I literally I've had to eliminate that offering from my language entirely. And I use the word witness. I'm happy to.
Oh, I love that. I go back and forth, but I love that. I never thought, in my mind, I was like, holding space never meant that I needed to keep it.
Well,
it just meant
you're not holding on to the burdens of others.
That might not be for you, but it was a subtlety for me that I was like,
for our little Libra here.
Put it right here. Go have a great day. I'm like, God, I just
wash that crap off.
Yes, I use the witnessing. I use that. I'm always happy to witness your experience. I'm happy to witness what you're feeling. I'm happy to witness what you're going through. I can offer myself as a witness, which is what you just described. But it was a very subtle one for me, because I was like, I'll hold space for you. And I was like,
So Peter, I have a question. As far as when you're looking to help someone manage their pain, because it can feel immense. It can feel like they're in overwhelm. Do you approach it in a way that it's like in little bite-sized pieces as far as with the spirit, with the emotions, with the wrapping their head around it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a process. So that whole trend of people of just get over it, or the spiritual bypassing that's happening in the wellness community, the holistic wellness community, of the positive affirmations of I am well, I am good, I am strong, and those are good things to say. So if somebody's out there saying those affirmations, good for you. I do not want to make them or belittle them. And if they aren't supported in a feeling state, and if they're said to the brain, if the brain is suffering and the brain is in an addictive loop, and you're consciously trying to say to your brain, I am sober, I am happy, the brain is just going to say, screw you. It's just gonna
because it's like brain's like, I've got evidence to support your words don't mean anything.
Exactly. So, Jason, I love your question, because what we have to do is work with the brain. And there's a character in the brain that we work with in the hypnotic community that we call the critical mind. And the critical mind's job is to keep you safe, comfortable, and familiar. It's kind of like the ego, but a little variation on that. Its entire job, it doesn't come from logic. It doesn't come from reasoning. It doesn't come from willpower. It comes from your past history. And its job is to keep you safe, comfortable, and familiar. If safe, comfortable, and familiar is abuse, it is going to look to keep you in that abuse. If safe, comfortable, and familiar is worrying and being in anxiety and panic, it is going to look to put you into situations where you're going to have the opportunity to do that more. And the biology of the brain is amazing. Again, the brain scientist I love to work with, he calls it brain space. And so brain space is something that the brain is going to look to repeat when it knows it does it well. And so if you do worry really well, your brain as a mechanism is going to make more space for you to worry.
Right. Because some people are professional worriers.
Yeah, or I would say,
oh my God, raise my hand.
People who are really good at solving problems need an infinite line of problems to solve.
Exactly.
Oh, I wouldn't put myself in that category so much. I want to be able to have in my brain solutions for everyone. Just
great.
Even if it's just offering comfort and soothing.
Great. As long as you don't personify those experiences.
I don't keep it. I'm of the firm believer that as a priestess upon the earth, shamanic, soothsayer, that I believe that it's to be here to soothe people. I mean, because the empath, I am the empath. So, you can come to me and I hope that I have an answer, or at least can help you on your next step.
Yeah.
It may not be a lot of steps, maybe just one step, but at least it's towards something else.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that is a mature empath.
Yeah, that's what you're using as the example of the
right
mature.
there.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're working from that place of witnessing, of being present, of identifying, right? Of not taking on the other people's issues, right? Being able to be there for them where they feel so heard and recognized, right? You're working from that place that who you are, this is a huge lesson for empaths, that who you are is enough.
Yes.
Right? There's a phrase that came out of many sessions with my clients, and the phrase is, I love myself so much, I can let other people be who they are. Right? I love myself so much. And when the empath loves themselves so much, then they're not compulsively trying to heal other people.
And right? that I had to use, which is similar, just offering it up, but I had to say allow people to have the dignity of their own experience.
That's
There was
nice.
something I had that was like, Jackie, allow them the dignity of their own experience.
Beautiful. Whether I agree with it or not, it's not my job.
Whether
You know,
good
I
outcome
teach
or a
my
bad
empath.
outcome, the dignity of their own experience. There's something about
Beautiful. Yeah, Jason, I know you're going to love this phrase because I teach my empaths two phrase, not my job, and I love myself so much, and oh my God, I just had a brain fart, and none of my business, none of my business.
Oh,
Empaths are the most nosy people, and they have a spiritual ability to them, like they have a psychic empath type of quality, or they have other kind of qualities. They are up in everybody's business.
up and out.
And none of my business. So I like ask my
well,
empaths.
I think of myself as non-judgmental. I don't have any judgment for anyone's experience.
Great, but you're already in that maturing state.
Yeah, I'm in the mature state of it. Sure.
You're already in that
I've
way
been here
of
for a
being.
long time.
Yeah.
Long time helping others.
It doesn't matter how long, because I've met some really old souls that maybe they're coming back to learn more details about that lesson, but they are just compulsively having issues with their not being able to set boundaries and stuff like that. It's pretty crazy with that.
You know what I also think about healing, which we don't get in medicine or even in pop culture, is that, and I think, Peter, what you've been through too, but is that healing, people expect healing to happen like immediately, and some does. I know you witness it, but some healing doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Well, no.
right away. Like, and I, even in my own life experience, I've seen, in hindsight now, birthday thing, but I've seen how I've architected life around certain wounds that, have taken on a lifetime of context to understand and see. Even though I've kind of been at them on the ground level the whole time, it's just going to take what it took to get what it was going to get to have the context it was going to need in order to release. So healing isn't always, sometimes it is instantaneous. And sometimes like a zip file that you just kind of clear and pull out. But sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it literally is the humility of the healing process is also part of healing.
Well, a lot of times bad things happen and you don't realize it at the time. You have to experience it and go through it. But it actually, if you allow it to lead you into a better life, it will.
Absolutely.
That sounds like Peter's experience, being hit by a truck.
Absolutely,
that allowance that you did. So you allowed yourself to step on the high road and not on the low road. And that was a beautiful thing. And think of how many people you serve on the planet now, Peter. I mean, it is fantastic.
Well, thank you. And everybody can get my book. So this book's out there because this book is part of that service. So this is Convergence Healing, Healing Pain with Energetic Love. There's an audio version as well as the Kindle and the paperback. And we're doing another book that's coming out, right?
Yep.
It's called
for people to contribute to. Go ahead. Tell us.
Yeah, it's very exciting. It's on it's on healing depression. So it's called When Happiness is Work. Because when you're in depression, sometimes happiness is work most of the time. Happiness is
I would
work.
say that's the number one thing that they can't get to.
Last thing somebody's feeling depressed is feeling. It's
happy.
Like, be happy.
Just be happy. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah, just be happy.
Jackie, since you're here, I wanted to let you know too that I've been writing this adult children's book, not X-rated, but it's really an adult book, but I've put it in a children's style. And so it's called Billy and the Anxiety Monster, and it's one of my processes for working through anxiety. It's about some of the stuff we've talked about friending your pain, right? The anxiety itself, giving it a shape and a form, right? Asking it what it needs instead of the doctors and the friends and the family members and the healers all telling you how to heal. Going to the pain itself, like Rumi says, and inviting the pain to guide you in the healing process. And it's called Billy and the Anxiety Monster, and we have a European publisher for it. The illustrations are being done right now. Yeah, it's very exciting.
Awesome.
It's very cute. The monster is a gryllus, which is a medieval monster that just has a head and 2 legs.
I love it. Is it hairy?
Yeah, he wears pants.
Hmm?
He wears pants, but he has crazy big hair. So it's kind of funny that you said that. It is these giant eyes. And he actually, we're looking at the drawings, and he makes a really good plush animal, like plush stuffed animal.
You're thinking of the marketing.
Stuffed animal.
Yeah. Where we could have our own gorillas, our own anxiety monster. Maybe if you squeeze him, his eyes pop out, or something. I don't know. So yeah, Billy's really fun. I'm super excited about taking a process that I do with my clients and sort of simplifying it and bringing it to the language of a children's book, and having this conversation. Mr. Pete is the therapist, it's me and Billy, and it's all in the session, and they just sort of talk to each other about this anxiety, and Grillis shows up, and we talk to Grillis and understand what Grillis needs, and give Grillis the love that he needs because he's feeling anxious. And that's one of the things I meant to say earlier. Our pain, more than anything, needs to be loved. My cancer clients taught that to me. These tumors that they're feeling, what we mostly do to our pain, however it shows up, is mostly again, that invisible friend right over there, we say horrible things to it, like, I hate you and I can't stand you and I wish you'd just go away and you're awful, and we say these terrible, I'm ashamed of you, I'm embarrassed of you, and I don't want to say it to you guys. We say that stuff to those parts of us. And I don't know if you were the representation of my pain, right? You're the physical embodiment of that. You're my invisible friend that nobody else can see. And I said that to you, Tara, or Jason, or Jackie, like, how would you feel if I spoke that way to you?
Well, I would know that with your own stuff. It's your own monster.
Right.
Your own monster speaking.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
I'd be hurt.
It would be hurt.
And I'd have to go take a shower.
Exactly. Exactly. And if it was me, I would be like, well, you think it's bad now, I'm going to really mess you up. You keep coming at me like that. You keep attacking me and saying those awful things to me and treating me in that way. I'm going to come back and hit you even harder. That's what I would be like. And instead, these parts of us that are suffering, they need love.
Love is always the answer.
Absolutely. And it's an ingredient in the world that is absolutely sustainable and never runs out. It is, I think, the one ingredient in this physical world that we live in, that love is always available. And if you were that part of me that was suffering and I said to you, I'm not going to speak badly to you, I'm not going to beat you up anymore, I'm not going to punish you, I'm not going to shame you, I'm not going to make you wrong, I'm not going to tell you to go away, I'm not going to be embarrassed of you, and I'm actually going to love you. And I'm going to send you so much love in my mind, in my actions, in the way to my body, wherever that pain is. I'm going to be so kind, so compassionate, so loving. Then it opens the door for the healing to actually happen. Right?
Right. But sometimes people can't even get to the love. I would say it's more like conditional and unconditional. If I can get to an unconditional level instead of
I've never had that.
Conditional is expecting all those things
to
be real. And conditions is expecting that of other people as well. That harsh judgment that we do on others never serves us. It doesn't.
Mm-mm. Not at all.
Yeah.
I've never had a session. I'm sorry, I spoke over you. What was that?
Oh, no, that's the none of our business category. It doesn't matter. Everybody's living their truth. And, unless it affects you personally, you don't have to deal with it much. But the thing is still, it's that monster that lives within them that creates whatever their havoc is. So how do you quell that? And so as a therapist, I'm always feeling, well, what can I do to help you find that your consolation, your not love, but an unconditional part of yourself that you can start from.
Yeah. It's interesting. I hear what you're saying. And I know that love can be difficult to access at times.
Yes. I
And
mean, you know, you work with people who are really searching for, why am I loving myself?
yeah,
I'm so hurt here. You know, if your body's hurt, your mind's like addiction things, you know, they're really in traps. They're in little
mhm,
traps, big
mhm.
traps.
Yeah, maybe because they are hurting so much. I've never had a client who couldn't get to that place of love.
Yeah, good.
Now, whether it's lasted, right, the ability to keep doing that, right, that's certainly been something that's come up. But in session with me, I've never, ever had a client, and I've been doing this for 15 years, I've never had a client who couldn't sit with their pain. And actually, after I gave them kind of the explanation that we just did, who couldn't actually start loving their addiction or their tumor or whatever it was. You know, my cancer clients taught me this. And by the time people would come to me, it's changed over the years, but back in the day, people would come to me only as a last resort.
Mhm.
So they had already or are in the treatments and they've already exhausted a lot of the medical establishment. The doctors don't really know what to do with them. That kind of afflicted category that's coming into more awareness. They're just not healing. And I've never had a client who, in session with me at least, couldn't come to a place of love for themselves or for that tumor or for that compulsive addiction or whatever. It's an amazing thing. But, you know, when people are that far into their pain, maybe it actually makes it easier to love because maybe they just see that they don't have a lot of choices anymore.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, and you're so loving that I'm sure that they're taking by example at that point, because you
Well,
are
thank you.
very unconditional.
Thank
There
you.
is. I mean, you embody it. Tell us
Thank
about
you.
the painting behind you, your beautiful painting.
Oh,
As
so
all of us have backgrounds, but you have beautiful, real background.
yeah, this is a real painting. It's on canvas. Many years ago, I I decided I just on a whim I decided I was going to be an artist.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And
you're a great
I
one.
have no training. Thank you. I have no training, and I just did. I got an art studio, a space that I could spread out and create, and I started making prints and painting things, and my critical brain would judge it all, and that it wasn't good. It wasn't. It was kind of an experiment in putting aside all those negative voices and soothing them. So the part to me that said, you can't do that, and going, all right, I hear you. I'm not going to say I can do it and fight you. I'm just going to say I hear you. And I understand that that's your concern. And you know what? Let's just kind of see what happens anyway. And those voices would kind of quiet down and I would paint and I would do stuff. And I sold almost every piece I had.
Wow.
I just decided, yeah, this was one that was very special to me.
Gorgeous.
It's the biggest piece I'd ever done.
Is it
What
the
was
biggest
that?
one? The biggest one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is it? Because it looks big, like 6 and
Well,
10.
I can back up a little bit. So I was really into symbolism. And so this is my office. You can kind of see there's the star, there's kind of a figure, like a body right there, and he has a heart.
Oh,
with
and
the
look at the
flower in it.
mind. Look at the depression in his head. But yet he has a heart.
Exactly. And there's the thunderbolt right there. And there's another bolt right there. And then there's these gold spears.
Yeah.
Kind of see what, and at the very bottom,
Balls of light.
if I can find it, there's the black spear, the black sphere that's right there, right?
Mhm.
And there's a cross and there's other symbols that's in there. So this was kind of a study on my part of symbols and symbols that have influenced my life. And I look at this gold sphere, I look at this as being a symbol for the soul. And the soul is this golden shimmering ball of light that, and when I even developed a meditation around that with my clients, often with my clients, they come to see me and their life energy, their soul is bouncing up on the ceiling, right? It's not in their skin. It's outside of their body, right? And physically, when the life energy of us is outside of our body, our breathing is shallow, our jaw is clamped, right? There's so much tension. And so I developed the meditation of bringing that light, that energy back into our body, coming back in and feeling the color, the shimmering light, the warmth, doing all that kind of stuff, bringing it back in. And people start to breathe more deeply and their shoulders drop and their jaw unhinges. And we bring it all the way into the body. And then we actually start exploring how that energy connects with other parts of the body. And maybe the color changes, or maybe the direction of the energy changes, or the movement of it. And we bring it to any part that's been needing that energy, that life source. And so we concentrate it. We make the color even more bright or brilliant, right? We make the movement of it even more powerful, and we bring that in, and people just, they sort of suck it in. They just, they have this ability to calm the brain through that meditative imagery. They have the ability to shift the chemistry in the body when we do that. So it's something that, especially for my anxiety and depression clients, this is a process that we do regularly, that I teach them, ask them to do on their own, ask them to take that tool and do this kind of meditation. And it really creates a huge shift, because they start to feel the energy, where it's not just a thought, but they start to see it as it goes through their veins, right? They start to feel it, see it, maybe even smell it. We engage all the parts of the brain to understand, like, what is this color of joy, of life? What is the texture, the smell, the taste of that experience? And then all the parts of the brain get to jump in and participate in that process. And so it's kind of this meditative, hypnotic imagery that promotes the wellness and getting back in our skin.
Beautiful.
I love it.
That's beautiful.
Where can people find you, Peter? What's your website?
Sure. I love social media, so I'm kind of all over the place. I have a website that's Convergence Healing. It's my brand, so convergencehealing.com. I have almost 200 videos on YouTube, and so people can go to youtube.com/Convergence Healing. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram, Convergence Healing, or Convergence Teas, because I have my little tea page on Instagram as well. So if people are interested in the teas, they can go to convergencehealingteas.com and order their teas. And Tara, I'm so grateful that you like the tea.
I love the teas. I love them. Anyway, yeah, thank you. Thank you for sending me beautiful teas.
Yeah, I'm glad. I've done a bunch of interviews, and Jackie supports me in that. And I've had people who were really interested in my practice, but not a lot of interest in the teas as far as doing podcasts.
Well, they're afraid. They're afraid, like you said, the woman that you bought teas and potions from for years, that they're not good.
You've got a great chocolate tea.
Oh,
cacao in your tea. You've got a beauty tea. Your
well, we put the roses up for your rose, for the beauty tea. It was
there's anxiety reducer and the happy tummy and the sleep better and the breathe better, as you mentioned earlier, Jackie. But when Jackie said that you guys were interested in the tea, I was like, immediately, I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to send her some.
I love it.
So I really appreciate that.
I'm all about it.
What's your website, Jackie?
Oh, I just wanted to just do shout out to you, it's you two, Jason and Peter, for your work with the animals, raising money for animals through Paul.
Yeah, well, the pandemic
Jackie,
is so slow.
tvgaspert.com.
Yes. Lux Pause.
Gaspert, GUESTPERT.com. TaraInsight.com, JasonDMcKean.com.
Don't forget the D.
Don't forget the
Don't
D.
forget the D.
Jason.
Just remember Dumbledore, the wizard.
You're awesome, Jason.
Thank you, Peter. Love you, brother. And
Thank you.
Thank you, Tara.
Yes. Well, I love you, brother. Since you are my brother. Anyway, I love all of you. Thank you. Blessings and love.
Thank
Blessings
you.
and love, everyone.
Thank you.